let's get started on the last phase, phase 4 of the Vortex project, okay? You're gonna need your ultra fine point Sharpie, this one here, and you're going to need your fine point Sharpie, this one here. Now, you're also gonna need your pencil, okay? Because I'm gonna show you how to do a little bit of practice before you go right onto your project, okay? Today, the points that you're focusing on are the following. Phase 4, I'm reading from your rubric, okay? So you can see this not only in the lesson, but also you can click on the entire rubric below the lesson. Okay, it says, there is no bleeding from Sharpie or unintentional marks. That's worth 2 points in phase 4, all right? So your first step here is going to be to take your ultra fine point Sharpie, this one here, and go over the lines that converge down into the center. That's your first step, all right? And we're going to talk about how that gets done in a minute. So please watch this entire video or you will end up with bleeding, and we want you to get the points for no bleeding, all right? So first step will be to go over these lines, and I'll show you specifically how not to get bleeding in a minute. Then the next step is to take this same tool and go over the curved lines, all right? Once you've done that, you'll then begin to color in all of the areas that have been marked with an X, all right? It's gonna be important that you watch the entire video because with this particular kind of paper, it's difficult to keep your Sharpie from bleeding into the spheres, all right? So I'm going to show you how that gets done in a second. I encourage you to rip a piece of paper out of the back of your sketchbook to do this very quick practice. All right. Just take your pencil, make a dot, draw a line, maybe 3. Let's just pretend this is the vortex, okay? And I'm going to draw just a couple of curved lines here. All right. Okay. Now, when you're drawing your lines that converge to the center of your vortex, I will encourage you to draw in a way that you're dragging the marker towards your body, okay? And that you're not putting too much pressure on your marker, all right? Over here, I'm going to show you how quickly it bleeds, okay? Oop, that is actually a lie, okay. You'll see in a minute that it does bleed if you hold it too long on the paper. Okay, so I usually draw lines going toward my body because I have more control over the tool if I'm doing that. I encourage you to move your sketchbook in a way that you have more control over your tool. Now, if you can't draw one continuous line like that without stopping, let's say, along the way and slowing down, okay, then you're going to get bleed marks like this. Now, sometimes you just can't draw one continuous line. Either it's too long or you're just not confident with doing that. So here's how you fix that problem, all right? Let's pretend that there's these lines here, okay? Pretend that looks good. So do you see where this line touches this line and this line touches that line? If I were an artist drawing this line, I would stop here where 2 lines come together and I'd lift up my marker if I had to take a rest. Stop and start where 2 lines come together. And the reason for that is even though you can see where that's happening, it's a lot easier to disguise a bleed when you start putting in the curved lines or to disguise where you have stopped and started when you put in the curved lines, okay? And even though it's not completely disguised yet, it will be disguised much better when you begin to fill in these sections that are marked with an X, okay? So I encourage you to practice with your tool on this. Okay, now here I've already drawn the lines that converge to the center. And I have begun to draw the curved lines, all right? I've drawn these in as well so that you can see this a little bit better. But once again, I'm going to, even when I'm drawing the curved lines, I'm dragging the drawing tool toward my body. Lift up when you need to stop, especially when you're coming close to a sphere. When you get down towards these very small areas, be very careful and try to stop on a line that's already drawn. Okay, I'm not going to go any further with the curved lines because I think you know what I mean now. The next thing I want to talk about is filling in the shapes that are marked with an X, all right? You've noticed that I've used the ultrafine point for these lines, the ultrafine point for drawing these lines, and I'm going to use the ultrafine point for the very small shapes in here as well. I do not recommend that you begin coloring in the tiniest shapes first. Wait till you get the hang of it, okay? I would start with an easy shape, like this one here is marked with an X for me. This is a big shape as well, but it's right up against the sphere, okay? Don't start with something like that if you can help it, because it can be a little, difficult. Now, what you want to do is, I'm not going to color in this shape for you. I mean, I am going to color in a more difficult shape for this demo so that I can show you how to handle that, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to color in this shape. I'm going to start with my ultrafine point Sharpie, even though it's a large shape, because I'm going to first start out here where the shape is bigger and then slowly push the lines or the ink into the corner. And the reason I say push the ink is because the ink will bleed on the paper. So when you touch the paper, you may not realize it, but it's bleeding into the corner. If you start in the corner, it's likely that it will bleed out of the corner, all right? This will give you more control over your tool. All right, so there's the corner, that's done. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up against the edge. Notice that I'm not all the way up against this line. I'm starting here and I'm working towards the line so that I can see where it's bleeding and control that. Starting out here and coming up against the line. Take your time on this. It's almost like you're sort of outlining, and the reason we don't want to outline with the larger Sharpie is because the larger Sharpie has a larger tip, and therefore it deposits more ink faster, and the bleed will be much faster as well. All right, so here I am, coming up really close to the sphere, okay? I am going to, kind of outline it, but not come right up against it, because I want to see if it's going to bleed. All right, now I see that I still need to come closer. I'm going to start in the line that I've already drawn, just to give myself a little bit more security. And I'm edging my way towards the sphere, and I'm barely touching the paper with this Sharpie, by the way. Okay, now I've got a lot of white space here. I do not want to waste the tip of this marker, and I also don't want to be here forever. So I'm going to now take this, and I'm going to start right in the middle so I can see where it bleeds. And then I'm going to work my way out. Always start in the middle of the shape and work your way out. Again, don't put too much pressure on your marker. You don't need to. It's not like using a colored pencil or a graphite paper. You're gonna get the ink to come out no matter what. Whenever it's possible, make your marker strokes go toward the center of your vortex, all right? If you can't do that, then color in whatever direction you need to do it. And then when you're all done with that shape, just give it one more loose layer of marker strokes that go in the direction of the center of the vortex, okay? Because you will see it, even if you can't see it in the video, and it will help with your illusion of space. Okay, now, when you get down to these shapes, okay, and I would do them last when you get the hang of all this and when you get the feel of your tools, I would use this tool for the entire thing. Start in the middle of the shape, okay, and work towards the corners and the edges. Avoid outlining right up against the sphere or any of the spheres, okay? Outline so that the outline is further away, and then work towards the sphere, okay? Sometimes if you just tap the paper near the edge of the shape, it will just bleed right up into the line where you need it to bleed to, okay? Now, notice that situation right there. Some of these bleed marks can be fixed very easily, and it doesn't meet perfectly anymore, but I think that it'll be okay. All right, good luck. Take your time, and I look forward to seeing all these fabulous projects.